Hi, everybody. We are back again with yet another episode of the Hard Work Podcast. I am Carlisha Harris. This is my amazing co-host, Stacey Lewis.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here again.
And we have our amazing guest, Miss Courtney Craig.
Happy to be here, guys. Thank you for the invite in the space.
Thank you for coming today. So we're just going to go ahead and kick it off.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit more about you, your background, and what does Urban Impact do?
Yeah, so first off, thank you again for having me in the space. I'm the program manager at Urban Impact. But about me is Courtney Craig, right? And so my background, I've been in the nonprofit space for well over 10 years in different paths and different lanes. I've worked with almost every population that you could think of in that space, and I love it. Obviously, it's hard work, right? So
Right.
Perfect title. And so, I mean, to be in the space, it has to be some kind of passion that drives you, right? And to be able to sacrifice for it. So, yeah, I've navigated in a nonprofit for a very long time. Landed me here at Urban Impact, which I'm just grateful for. Been here about 2 years now, and it's just amazing work. A little bit about Urban Impact, if you guys do want me to jump right into that.
Yes,
okay.
please.
Cool. Nonprofit organization. We're housed proudly right here in the 4th Avenue Black Business District. Long historical background, an anchor for Birmingham, and so if you don't know about it, I please implore you to look at the whole Civil Rights District and the history that encompasses it. But our real goal is just to remove barriers for Black entrepreneurs, right? We want to make sure that they have the economical foundation, education, and access
Right.
they need in order to sustain over time. The Black Business District was a thriving Black Wall Street, and as Jim Crow happened, right, and desegregation happened, we kind of lost that, as it's not a unique story, right, but it's unique
Right.
to us because we are here. So we kind of lost that saturation and that strong community tie. And so we exist to bring that back together, right? And so my role as program manager is to make sure our entrepreneurs, our community, have the education for business ownership to sustain over time. Short answer, we do so much more,
Right.
But I'm sure we can dive into that a little bit later on.
Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
so you talked about education.
Yeah.
And we see that with a lot of even legacy businesses, the education is kind of missing in some pieces with bookkeeping and things like that. With Urban Impact, you have a lot of accelerators and programs for them, but most importantly, mentors.
Yeah.
How would you say that mentors play a huge role in actually educating the entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit different in this space, right? My mindset is a little bit different because I come with my background in social work, right? And so I think this is a beautiful blend of social services and economic development. Those things are interconnected. They're not separate of each other. And sometimes we miss that, right? And so when I move through programs, right, when I move through seeing the needs and the gaps of our community, I don't necessarily come in as a traditional sense, right? I see, okay, where are the hardest gaps, right? And it's not necessarily a program, right? I'm a program manager and I love what I do, right? But I want to work myself out of a job, right? That it's not a dire need, right? And that we're actually feeling the services and the needs of our community members. And so mentorship is a huge, huge gap filler, right? Not everybody wants a program, needs a program, has the time for a program.
Right.
Correct.
Right? Programs are intensive, right?
Yeah.
And so mentorships and mentors provide a more natural, organic, educational space, which I love. Workshops also provide that. Coaches provide that, but more importantly, community provides that. It doesn't have to have a
That's
title,
good.
right?
That's
and
good,
so
yeah.
I think how I view it is how we bringing the community back together in many different ways. If it's other entrepreneurs teaching, each one teach one, right?
Right.
And so mentorship is beautiful, and I love that. And it's more than just mentors in business ownership. It's mentor as people, as community, and how are we tying all that together so we can have a sustainable economic impact.
I
Wow,
love
that's
that.
awesome.
Yeah.
One of the things too that I think speaks to that was the collaboration that we just had with this past Juneteenth in the market.
Yeah.
Could you talk to us a little bit about that
Absolutely.
and the hard work that we all know went into that, because
Yeah.
it was a huge success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that.
Mhm.
I'm very happy to hear that. Oftentimes, the back end,
Right.
we're hard on ourselves for the
Right.
back work,
Yeah.
right? And we have a lot more
Mhm.
growing to do in that space, but I do see it as a huge success. So this is not a unique thing, a new thing to me in this space, right? This has been trying to gain traction for years. Years ago, this used to be a collaborative effort in the community, right? And like I talked about earlier, we kind of lost that, right? We lost that community, not just in our business ownership, but in organizations, right? And so we lost how to work together effectively. And so this was that effort, right? And so it makes sense, right, to have Urban Impact, Creed 63, the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, who all are housed in the Civil Rights District, to work together, collaborate to bring the community into one central space, right? We're all working towards the same goal, right, and the same dream, and so it's a natural progression. And it's just us having to put things to the side to make it a priority. So I love it.
Yeah, I was so thrilled to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it was so impressive. So kudos to you, your team, for all the hard work that went into that, because that is, it was a big deal.
Big shout out to Jordan Croft and Roy, our team. Big shout out to Creed. I mean, they did so much heavy lifting with such small staff. And that's why I said earlier, nonprofit, you have to be passionate about it because it has sacrifices.
Correct.
Right? And so it comes with sacrifices, right? And so those are the day in, the day out, the extra time. There is no 9 to 5 clock, right? It comes with sacrifices. And that's a testament to the sacrifices.
Yes.
So big shout out to just everybody who put hands on it. And the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute for being open and willing to hold that space, right? And so I'm happy as you as a vendor had a great experience because that's everything we do should be centered around that.
Yeah.
Right? It's not about urban impact.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's
It's
good.
not about our title or name. It's about what we're actually doing that benefits the community and moves that dial forward a little bit. So I'm happy to hear you had a good experience.
That's
I
amazing.
love it. And we're going to keep going. It's going to get bigger and larger, wrap around the whole block.
I can't wait until next year.
Yes.
But you know, in Birmingham, I think collaboration has been like an ongoing theme that needs improvement. Courtney, you do actually do a really good job at partnering with other organizations and doing that. How do you usually approach that, knowing that everybody's not really for that all the time?
That's a great question, Carlisha.
Yes.
So I will say a lot of that is my social work hat. And so I'm fortunate to have had that be my natural progression in life, where I've worked with all types of people, right? With all different understandings, all different backgrounds, and all different readiness to engage, right? And sometimes we try to force things on other people that aren't necessarily ready, or that's not their goal or their lane, right? And so it's okay. That's okay. Everyone's where they're at, right? But I think with me and my personality, right, I'm aware of that, right? And so I just want genuine, if this is not your lane, right, and this is not something you want to do, that's cool, right? I'm not going to force you to be engaged with that. Right, but if you say this is your mission, you say this is what you're really passionate about, all right, let's figure out ways that we can work together that's not stepping on your toes, not stepping on your toes, and respect everybody's space. And I think sometimes, you know, we're kind of forced in this space to scrap for resources and scrap for other things, right? And so it's created this undertone. I'm a very transparent person.
Yes.
So we want to talk about it, right?
Yes.
And so
that's right.
Unfortunately, what has happened from that is it's created this undertone, right? And I think when we put that aside, right, and understand as a whole, what are we trying to do for our communities, and put all the other stuff aside, then we have these beneficial relationships, right? These genuine relationships where we can, okay, Stacey, I love what you're doing. I know what you're doing. I know your heart in it. Let's figure out a lane, right? Carlisha, same with you. Same with you, right? And so figuring out different ways that we can complement each other and not extract from each other.
And I'm proof of that because the connections you given for us to Birmingham Jumpstart have been great.
I'm happy to hear that.
And please know that we are appreciative. And as the founder and the director, I'm telling you, I'm personally appreciative. But as a company, we are appreciative of your efforts to help us because what we want to do, we want to teach literacy. And when you call hope to that, it's like, hey, Stacey. And so I know that what you're saying is truth and that you live it out. And I just want to commend you for your efforts because this is the reason you're on Heartworks is because we want to highlight what you do the way you do it and how you flow in the community, and with you, it's just natural. It's just a natural flow, and we all seem to glean and benefit from it.
Yes.
It's a village. I truly
Yeah.
live, and there's a reason. So if you
Yeah.
see my artwork, right? If you see, there's a reason I live into these things. Sankofa, right?
Okay.
Which means return to the past and take from it, right?
Okay.
It's community work. There's
Wow.
this is not new. Community is not new to us.
You said return to the past
And take from
and
it.
take from it.
Wow.
Talk about it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's a symbol.
I like that.
It's a deeper symbol, right? It's
Okay.
a very popular one, but
Wow.
nothing is new under the sun,
Right.
Correct.
right? And so
Correct.
we instinctually, as a community, as a people, right, navigating community, right? It's just
Okay.
intrinsically in us,
Right.
right? And we have lost that along the way, right? And that's a whole nother rabbit hole we can
Wow.
talk about.
Wow.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Right.
But
Mm-hmm.
if we genuinely live into that, right, and try to inch back into that, then it's natural. It should be a natural flow, right? There is no
I like
reason
that.
to have competition. It should be a
Yeah.
natural flow of I win, you win, we win,
Mhm.
right? There's enough winning to go around,
That's good.
right? And so I just, the work that I'm doing is not unique to me. You guys know I don't like my name attached to things. For a reason. I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But it's not
Yeah.
unique to me. So many people are doing this work, right? And so many people have done this work before us. So we're just continuing to live into that legacy. And I said where I'm different in this, if, I try to live, I wake up every day saying, if I were to leave this earth today, what was my impact? Right? And was it true and genuine impact? Right? And so I try to move through that daily. And so I'm happy to see that it flows through that. But that is years of people pouring into me, right? That now I'm able to pour into others.
That's so awesome. Collaboration seems to be one of your strong points. Talk more about collaboration and how important it is to you, not so much from the nonprofit space, but just from who you are, because it flows out of you, and the nonprofits benefit from it because it's already flowing from you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it is who I am, right? Like,
Right,
and so
right.
it's hard to. I think I've just been gifted with the ability to lean into community, right? And with community, there should be collaboration, right? And so I think it's just a natural skill that I have, a natural willingness and passion that I have. And so it's at the forefront of everything I do. Like I kind of said earlier, it makes no sense for us to scrap for things, right?
That's good.
And
That's good.
it hurts more than it helps.
Sure.
It extracts more than it adds value, right? And so if our goals are the same, right? If I notice that, we are fighting for the same thing, then why would we fight each other for the same thing?
Yeah.
Correct.
That just doesn't
That's
make
good.
sense to
That's
me.
good.
As a person, right? That just has never made sense to me. And so, I mean, my parents could tell you when I was little, this has just always been my personality.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's like, and I know that to be true because there are people that come and ask me, hey, will you help me put together a nonprofit? And I'm like, sure, but what do you want to do? Like, why do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Because here's what the first thing I tell people: first, know the mission, but then secondly, see if you can partner with somebody.
Yeah.
Because we need that collaboration.
It's hard.
And,
It's hard to do it by yourself.
and I don't think people really count that cost up.
Yeah. That's true.
I just don't.
And we
think
end
they
up
do.
making the same program 10 different times.
Correct.
And it's like, it
Correct.
could have just been one
There we
thing.
go.
one effective unit.
There we go.
Exactly.
Correct.
There we
Right.
Going back to that collaboration piece.
And also, too, with just being a good partner. I don't think everybody's always a good partner. Like, the way your mindset is set up, you're not in it just for you. You talked about, the win-win mindset. It's always, what's in it for me? I don't care what anybody says. Everybody has to benefit about what's going on, including, most importantly, the community. But I also wanted to kind of ask you, like, how could you talk about a lot of past experiences, but also, like, your personal beliefs? In what ways does that affect your work when you're approaching tough conversations or different demographics? You're very well-rounded. How has those experiences helped you to navigate this kind of space, especially Birmingham, out of all places?
Life is a teacher. Life is a teacher.
Keep on living, as they say.
Life is a teacher.
Yeah.
I had to learn along the way. And so one thing that's intrinsically mine, right, and it is in me, and I just, to detriment sometimes, but I respect everybody as they are.
Right.
Right, and so live and let live, all those nice sayings that we have, right? All those things that say the same thing. That's how I function, right? And so if you're not hurting me, if you're not trying to cause harm, do you, right? Live your life how you feel fit. And if it aligns, we're on the same path, that's awesome. That's awesome, right? That. And so I think just that, right? And so those are my beliefs, right? Who am I to judge anybody, right? And the way that I'm able to navigate in spaces is from life teaching, right? And so I had to learn lessons. I've dealt with very tough situations, and you have to grow from that, but you have to be willing to grow from that, right? You have to be open-minded to see it as a perspective of, okay, this is a lesson that I'm learning, as opposed to holding that weight with you, and just holding grudges throughout the years, right? You have to also do that me work, right? And I've done my me work, and I'm still doing my me work, right?
It's an ongoing process.
It's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
And to that, right, as I'm human, as everybody else, we lose balance sometimes, right? And so I have a mentor, who is passed, right? Dr. Maya Angelou is my mentor. Has been my mentor for...
I love that for you.
Yeah.
I don't know how long, right? And so, since I was able to figure out who she was, I know why the cage bird sings. I think that was my introductory to her Still I Rise poems. And so, you know, she speaks about this beautifully in her videos. And so I have a playlist of her videos. And so when I'm off balance, right, and I feel myself getting into myself and getting it wrong frequently, I just play her videos in the morning to start my day, right? And it gets me back on track. And it reminds me of why I'm here, right? And that I'm still learning, right? And I'm able to navigate better.
Sounds like that's how it helps you recenter yourself.
Yeah.
I like that.
Absolutely.
So one of the things we're starting on our Heartworks podcast is this one question. Are you a chess player or are you a checkers player? And tell us why.
Oh, I might be both. I might be both. I might be a little duality in there.
Okay.
So, are we talking about the physical game or like
metaphorically?
I mean, it applies both ways, physically and as it applies to life.
Okay, so physically, you know, chess, I haven't gotten all figured out to play the game smoothly, but as is life. As is life. But that's checkers, awesome. I love me some checkers. But as in life, I think it's the same answer, right? And so, I'm constantly having new balance, right? I see the chess moves. I'm a big picture person, absolutely a big picture person. And sometimes I reverse engineer, okay, here's the big picture. How do I move these pieces backwards to get the short-term goals and short-term needs, right? But then sometimes I have to check myself, right, of am I leaning into this too far, right?
That's good.
Am I taking this too seriously because life is, right? And so that's why I say it's a little bit of both, right? It's a little bit of the checkers where that's the short game, fun, kind of immediate gratification, and then chess where it's the long, calculated moves, right?
And the question was asked so as to sort of lighten the mood, but leave it to Courtney.
To make it all deep?
To take it to a level.
Take it too deep.
We apologize for that. We didn't know it was going to go there, but thank you for that.
I am, deep.
Yes.
Well, I guess we can piggyback off of that. You know, you talked about, you know, those moments that are not so pretty that make us who we are. If you don't mind sharing, can you give us one of those moments in your past where you like, this was a growing moment for me?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, so I'll stay in the professional world.
Yeah, okay.
I'll stay in the professional space. So, so I'm from California, and so when I started my nonprofit career in California, I was working for San Diego Center for Children. Phenomenal facility. They're doing great work and hard work. We're doing wraparound services. And so I was a skills trainer. And so what that meant is I was dealing with juvenile, who had wanted access to mental health diagnosis. Those are very high access diagnosis, right? And so, y'all can Google that. And so they just had a lot of things going on. And so
Right.
wraparound services is meant to keep them out of institutions, right? And
Yeah.
so we're going into the community, we're going into the homes, and we're trying to teach these youth some life skills while also teaching their family around them the same skills, and so they can stay in the home and not be repeating into the institutions,
Right.
right? But then you have the mental health aspect as well.
Mhm.
And so a lot of these families who didn't have access to medication, therapy, all these things that are necessary to balance out mental health. And so we had psychosis. And so I remember vividly this young boy, he was maybe like 11 years old, 12 years old, and he had a hard life, a very hard life, but also had some very severe mental health. And I was in there meeting with him one day, and he was in full-blown psychosis. Full-blown psychosis. And we had something called a PERT team, which I think every city needs. It is the mental health trained police officers.
Okay.
Of course, we all need one.
Of course we need one, right?
Yes.
And so it is the mental health team police officers. So we call the PERT team first. They come out and assess, de-escalate the situation, and then if other people need to be called, they will. If not, it's handled, right? But it's less traumatizing. At this point, we called the PERT team, and he was just irate. He was throwing things. He wanted to attack his mom, essentially. He wanted to remove her from this earth. But he was in full psychosis. It was a baby, right? And so the complexities of that, right? The baby who is not in control of his faculties at the moment. The mom who has caused him harm, right? Emotional harm, which has escalated things. So how do you protect all parties in that situation? And so just the complexity of the situations that I've dealt with in my professional space has really helped me understand. And then how do you process that afterwards, right, as a service provider? So learning that skill set, right? Learning how to process things and understand, okay, how do I grow from that? What could I have done better? Where did we miss? Where did we hit? What was successful? And then how do you apply that into any avenue that you grow in, right? And so what I'm able to do today in community work is not very much different, right? Is the needs are there, right? People are saying what they need, and oftentimes we don't listen, right? The same thing as behaviors. People are saying what they need, they don't have the words to say it, right? And we're still not listening, right? And so then how do we apply that today, right, in the work that we're doing in economic development?
No, that's really good. And in these last few minutes we have, I would like to give you the platform to say or to share with, what would you say to someone that's interested in coming into the nonprofit space, the community collaboration space, with the intent to give back? What would you say to encourage them?
Yeah, I mean, so you want to do it for a reason, right? The need is out there. The need is always going to be out there. So do it. Do it. My advice for the encouragement would be, to what you said earlier, understand the why. And once you understand the why, see who else is doing it. Right? See who else is doing it first. How could you add benefit to what they're already doing? And learn from them. Learn from the mistakes. Oftentimes we repeat the same things, you said earlier. Right? When we don't necessarily need to. At that time. Timing is everything, right? And so learn from other nonprofits who are already doing the work or something similar to your work, and then from there grow. How can you complement them? If they're not feeling a certain need, how could you then fill that need, right? Because nonprofit work is filling needs in communities, right?
True.
There's
That's very true.
like for profit, there's a problem. Our business is going to solve it, right? That's for profit, right? But nonprofit is very much the same, right? There's a problem in our community. We're creating a nonprofit, a community work to fill that problem, right, and to fill that need. And so that would be my advice. Go for it. I love it. Love all the work. The work is necessary, right? It's always going to be there. But learn too. Don't make the same mistakes that we continue to make, right? Learn and do better than we are doing.
Okay, I like that. Well, it's pretty obvious, Courtney, that your heart is deep in this, from your personal to professional. So just to kind of end us off, how would you define hard work?
Should have prepped me for that one.
It's going to come from the heart.
I got you. So hard work, right? And so I truly believe and I've said this throughout my deep conversations today, but in order for you to truly find your passion, you have to be willing to sacrifice for it. If you're willing to sacrifice for it, then you know it's within your heart to do it, right? And so, not saying it's easy, right? Because it's hard. Hard work is hard, right?
Yeah.
That's
It
right.
should probably be in the title as well. Hard work is hard, right? But it's worth it.
Right.
It's worth it, right? And so, if you're able to leave this world better than when you found it, right, then you're in the right space, and that's all we can ask for.
Beautiful, Courtney.
Yeah,
Beautiful
thanks,
answer.
guys.
We are so excited to have you and
I'm
to be a
excited
part
for
of
y'all.
this. This is just
This is a
been
cool
awesome.
effort.
Thank you
This
so
is a cool
much.
effort.
Yes.
We need to talk about nonprofit space a little bit more, and so I love that you guys are paying homage and light to this. So kudos to you.
Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah,
And
thank
thank
you
you
so
all
much.
for tuning in to us.
you,
We
guys.
appreciate you all.
Thank you.
We'll catch you next time.
Yay, and we had Courtney Craig. Thank you guys. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.